Thank you so much, Anthony, and thank you all for everyone that is here. And we know lots of folks are going to be flowing in. And this is also the kind of event where we know people might be popping in and out. Hence the fact that we are recording this and we are documenting everything that's going to be shared today in a document that's going to be easy to navigate that Anthony's going to share here in just a second, but then also with lots of follow up. But it is my pleasure to welcome you to the TRUCEN 2026-2027 programming preview. This is the first time we're doing this in this kind of virtual launch setting, but we're so thrilled with the incredible programming that we have lined up and all of the amazing field leaders who are contributing to it, who you're going to hear from today. TRUCEN, if you are new to it, stands for the Research University Civic Engagement Network. We are a network made up of R1 institutions who are members of Campus Compact. And I am so proud to say that today we have 69 institutions that are 68, I should say, 68 institutions that are members of TRUCEN, including all of yours. And I will drop into chat where you can see that list and also see who the lead contacts are if you are curious or not aware. So today is all about hearing about the incredible work that this network is bringing to each of you and to one another, that is all peer-led and completely responsive to what your unique needs are as civic and community engagement leaders in research institutions. These are obviously very challenging times where our work, from my perspective, and I think you all will agree, has never been more important. But there's a lot of shifts happening. There's a lot of shifts happening, obviously, within our own institutions, within the higher education sector, within the country, and in particular, because all of us are focused on the broader public mission in our communities and cities and towns and regions. And that means that we need each other more than ever. It means that we need to be able to access the best practices, to be able to tap into peers, to get into small groups and be able to talk honestly and authentically about what we're experiencing and where there are challenges and opportunities, because there are opportunities in this moment to deepen our work, to build new partnerships, to think about doing work differently and work together in new and exciting ways. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to someone you've been getting emails from and maybe seeing pop up, but aren't familiar with his name and face yet, but you will be. He's a new member of the Campus Compact team, but someone who I am so thankful is working closely with me on, as you guessed it, a lot of things, including TRUCEN. And he's going to be a powerhouse behind helping us not just deliver this program and carry it out throughout the year. So I'm going to turn it over to the master of ceremonies for today, who's going to be running through everything, Anthony Medina.
Bobby, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Medina, as Bobby said. I joined Campus Compact this past May, January as a contractor, but just past May as a full-time senior manager for policy and leadership engagement. And in this role, I'm working closely with our board, our university presidents, and our senior leaders across the network to align policy priorities, board governance practices, and senior leadership engagement with Campus Compact's mission. And so while I'm new to Campus Compact as an employee, I've worked in the field of community and civic engagement for the past 13 years, and I've been familiar with Compact and TRUCEN since graduate school, which I was laughing about the other day. Came up in graduate school. One of my responsibilities this year is to broadly support TRUCEN and serve as the primary staff support to the amazing programs that we'll be going over today. And I'm so excited to be able to jump in and support the important work happening across the network. So first, I want to bring our attention to the following document, our FY27 programming overview. I'm going to put that in the chat right now. And this document will be our living repository for all things TRUCEN this year, highlighting all of our programs with descriptions of each and links for sign up and registration. Throughout the presentation, we will be dropping individual registration links in the chat for our various programs. But if you're like me and you want to just sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and process and need some time to process that information, you can come back to this document afterwards to look at what you need and get to where you want to be. Following our conversation today, we will be sharing out an email that reshares this document and all the sign-up links so that you'll have it in your inbox as well. So no need to follow along today, but you have this resource if you'd like to. Our run of show today will feature the leads of our various programs and initiatives that we're offering this year, as well as provide an opportunity for a number of groups that are sunsetting to share out about their work from last year. At the end of the presentation, we'll have some time for Q&A from you all. And if you have any questions along the way, please raise your hand or use the chat feature to put your questions in, and we'll try to keep track of that as we go along. We'll do our best to answer the questions in real time, but we also have that time at the end dedicated to Q&A. So if we don't get to you during the event, during the presentation, we'll get to you at the end. Great. So we have just about 90 minutes blocked off for our event today. And if we wind up ending a little bit early, that's okay with me. But we do have a lot of ground to cover and a lot of great field leaders who are going to be sharing out about their work. And so without further ado, I want to jump right in. We want to start off by showcasing, pun intended, showcasing our TRUCEN showcase visits. And so in 2023, TRUCEN launched their first showcase visits, hosted by a TRUCEN member institution. TRUCEN launched their first showcase visits. Hosted by a TRUCEN member institution, showcases are intended to bring our R1 campus teams together for deep dives on emerging topics, issues, and opportunities. Traditionally, these are held over 2 to 3 days, and they are intentionally flexible to allow campus hosts to design an experience that best addresses their interests and their capacity. For those who have been with us for a while, previous showcases were held at Tulane University and the University of Pennsylvania, and today we are highlighting 2 wonderful showcases happening this fall, one with Duke and one with VCU. And so I'm very excited to welcome up Michelle Benham from Duke University to the main stage to kick us off. Michelle.
Thanks, Anthony. Hi, everyone. So glad to be with you today. As Anthony said, I'm Michelle Benham. I am the Senior Director for Communications with the Duke Community Affairs team. And we are thrilled to be able to share with you a little bit about the showcase, which will be held in early October, October 1st and 2nd, on the campus of Duke University, which is located, if you're not familiar, in Durham in the Research Triangle region of North Carolina. At Duke Community Affairs, we are a hub for community engagement across the university and health system around the areas of health, housing, education, economic mobility, and nonprofit partnerships. And this showcase will really be an opportunity to hear from our leadership about how we are fulfilling our academic and research missions in collaboration with communities. Agenda highlights, we've got a wonderful action-packed agenda planned for you all. On Wednesday evening, we will welcome you all with a reception, and Thursday will be a number of conversations and panels, including with Duke's president, Dr. Vincent Price, and panels around what sustainable and mutually beneficial community engaged scholarship can look like in practice. We'll talk about our Homegrown initiative, which is Duke's institution-wide commitment of over $200 million to improve local access to employment and contracting opportunities at Duke. And we'll also talk about community health programs that aim to address social drivers of health and barriers to accessing care for our communities. We'll also, sorry if you can hear that siren. We'll also have the opportunity to experience some of our integrative medicine and well-being programs with our colleagues who provide no or low-cost support for care management, preventative wellness, and health-related social needs. And Friday will offer interactive activities and a chance to reflect on all that we have shared and learned together. So it'll be on the registration page, but lodging will be at the Washington Duke Inn, which is located right on campus. And the closest airport is RDU, which is about 15 minutes away. So we really look forward to seeing you in Durham in October.
Michelle, thank you so much. I'd now like to welcome up Shari Garmais from Virginia Commonwealth University to share about the VCU showcase. One quick note, please forgive me if I get names and pronunciations mixed up, as I know everyone by email, but I don't know everybody by last name. And we can actually unspotlight Misty. Bobby, Shari's going to share directly.
Oh, so, okay. Can we share? Because or is it just me?
Absolutely. You can share, Shari. You can share screen if you need to too.
Oh, no, great. No, because I wanted to kick it off, but I was going to share it with Misty because she'll be able to go in depth about what we're doing. So
Sounds
just to start, so I'm Sherry Garmize. I'm the Executive Director for Collective Urban and Regional Impact in the Division of Community Engagement at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia. For those who don't know about VCU, we are an urban institution by design. We were created to be one. We are an anchor institution by choice, serving about 30,000 students, one of the largest employers in Richmond. And we were one of the first universities to be Carnegie Community Engaged. So we considered community engagement to be in our DNA. It's who we are. And we're happy to invite everyone to our showcase, which is Wednesday and Thursday, November 11th and 12th, with the option of a third day, November 13th, where we held our community engagement conference Connect. Which is co-created with our community partners. The theme of our showcase, or the focus, is the power of place. We're looking at how we can maximize community engagement impact through place-based sites and place-centered work, because we believe that place-based strategies provide a set of open doors for the community. They're the formative infrastructure for building trust and connections for our students, for our faculty, for our community partners, for our neighborhoods, for our regions, for everyone to thrive. So to meet that goal, we've got the days divided. It says the first day you're basically spending with us at Division of Community Engagement at our place-based sites. Morning, we'll go to the Health Hub at 25th, which is a partnership with VCU Health System, and it provides a hub to deliver health and wellness services around social determinants health to Richmond's East End. In the afternoon, you'll go to Marion Francis Youth Center. My colleague Misty is the executive director, so I will let her tell you all about it. And we're going to end the day with a Mending Walls walking tour with our partner artist, Hamilton Glass. And we're going to look at how public art, which is a real cornerstone of Richmond and its culture and communities, help build place and partnerships. Like I said, we believe that engagement is not just what we do, it's who we are. So a lot of this, the activities will be learning through engagement. Day two is going to be, if day one is the impact of place-based sites, day two is about building civic places. On day two, the College of Humanities and Sciences, the Baldacci Institute for Civic Discourse, and the Division of Student Affairs are going to be looking at how we build civic places through our centers, through our students, through our research, through our co-curricular activity. Highlights of that will be learning about Virginia's government simulation, which is a laboratory for democracy here in Richmond. There'll be a campus tour led by the Valentine Museum, which is a VCU partner whose focus is to collect, preserve, and interpret Richmond's history. And we'll also see how we're addressing food insecurity through a decentralized, anonymous food pantry fridge set of networks, both on VCU campus and the community. And I said day three, Connect conference co-designed with the community to be a place where we create civic joy through learning and networking. And with that, I'm going to pass this to Misty so you can get a sort of bird's eye view on how our place-based sites work.
Sherry, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, we would love for you to visit us at VCU and especially at the Marion Francis Youth Center, where we focus on youth, families, and adults that work with youth. We offer all types of programming with an emphasis on sports and life skills, but then also supporting the adults that work with youth through our newly established certificate in youth development management. It is not quiet here, and I think those of you that may choose to join us will have an opportunity to not just hear from us, but also see the youth and learn about how we engage our VCU students as well, and support them along their professional journey. But we definitely look forward to hopefully seeing you at VCU in November.
Sherry, Misty, thank you both so much. I wanted to quickly share that Campus Compact helped cover the cost in partnership with the campuses for the experiences, and these registrations are free. And for both of the showcases, We have a limited number of I'm sorry, Campus Compact is able to help cover lodging for the showcases for a limited number of trucking attendees that might need support in order to attend. We know we're in kind of very difficult times right now. And so if that is your campus, if that is you, please reach out directly to me, Anthony Medina, to request that support. Thank you both, Sherry and Misty. At this time, I'd like to highlight this year's Dream Lab, and I'll pass it over to one of our great Dream Lab leads, James Rowland from Emory University, to share out just really quickly. Dream Lab was the first group that I met with in supporting Truckin' this year, and what a great group to land with first, because I felt so welcome and so great. And so anyway, thank you, James, for that, and I'll pass it over to you now.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Anthony. I appreciate the opportunity to be with everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you may be. It is a pleasure to be with kindred spirits and other colleagues that are invested in doing this work. As Anthony alluded to, my name is James Rowland. I'm the Senior Director for the Center for Civic and Community Engagement at Emory University. And this year, I'm super, super excited to be co-facilitating the Dream Lab alongside an incredible group of colleagues, including Adam Gismani from Harvard Graduate School of Education's Democratic Knowledge Project, as well as Maurice Smith and Aniska Nance from Tulane University's Center for Public Service. At the heart, I think it's important to say that the Dream Lab is an invitation to pause, an invitation to step back from our day-to-day demands of our work and make room for something that we oftentimes don't get to do, and that is to dream and to imagine. It is clear, as we all know in higher education right now, people are navigating a lot of different things, some pretty profound challenges right now. Everything from political polarization to the declining enrollment, social unrest, and so much more. And in the midst of that, it can be really tempting to focus exclusively on what's urgent and what feels feasible. But the Dream Lab asks a different question. It asks, what if we made space to imagine what could be possible? It's an invitation to put ourselves in a different space and place that we oftentimes don't get to do. And this year, we plan to come together monthly for conversations that connect both vision to practice, connecting that bridge from theory to practice, and explore questions like, how might we center engagement in new ways? What would it look like to truly reimagine the relationship between campuses and their community? How can we cultivate hope and possibility when the work we are doing feels so heavy at times? And we plan to do that by drawing from a range of different ideas and experiences. So the Dream Lab is really a space to look at things like podcasts and personal stories and readings and a whole host of things that we can draw from to put into our toolbox. But more importantly, the thing that we draw from the most is each other, creating space and place for us to have time to think and support, affirm each other, to listen to one another, and create that space where individuals can leave hopefully renewed, but if nothing else, feeling that they have had time to contemplate with other colleagues. And so throughout the year, some of the things we hope to talk about are the ideas of practical optimism, the way in which we can deal with civic engagement and students using their voice on our campuses, as well as us as staff and faculty members. What does it look like to think about radical hospitality? So the list goes on, but a lot of the beauty of the Dream Lab is it's driven by the folks that participate in it, the individuals that come to that space looking to think about what could be. And so our topics have the opportunity to go in different directions depending on the needs of the group. But as we go through this year, we are hoping that we don't simply talk about what's happening in higher education, but right now, but also think about what could be happening in higher education. So in many ways, the Dream Lab is intended to truly be a lab. And that means that we don't want to just expect that we have all the answers, which we don't, but we do want to experiment. We do want to ask bold questions. We do want to test ideas. We do want to learn from one another. And as a result, we hope that this will be a space where we can bring both our challenges and your dreams and our dreams together so that not only we dream in a way that makes those dreams become a little bit more closer to reality. And as we go throughout this year, I think it's one important thing to note that this is really open to everyone. This is not intended just to be for one group of individuals, but for everyone can participate. And at this point right now, hopefully I've convinced you to dream. And we're excited to share that the registration is now open. So Anthony, I think you maybe drop the link in the chat, and hopefully we'll be seeing you soon in a Dream Lab session near to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James. We're very excited for Dream Lab this year. And next up, we'd like to highlight our Sustained Conversations groups. Sustained Conversation groups, or SCGs, are peer-led and facilitated, bringing together faculty, staff, and administrators. They normally run for 1 to 2 years. Participants commit to regular small group meetings to discuss topics of interest throughout the year. And these SCG discussions allow participants to learn from one another's experiences and provide an opportunity to share resources while building relationships with others across the network. We recommend for signups that no more than 2 to 3 individuals per member institution end up in the same group. We're not really policing that in the same way, but that's a recommendation to you all as you're thinking about your campus's engagement this year. And there are just wonderful groups we want to share about today. And so we will now hear from the leads from each of the groups. First, from 2 groups that are sunsetting this year. They worked with us last year or 2, and will be sharing about their work from the past year, followed by 3 exciting new opportunities, new groups to register with today. And so registration is now open for these groups, and I'll put that in the chat now, but I'd like to welcome up Chicory Bechtel from the University of Wyoming to get us started. Chicory.
Great, thank you so much, Anthony, and for the whole Trucking Leadership Committee. Really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit. So in the past academic year, just to introduce myself, I'm Chicory Bechtel. I'm an Associate Director in the Office of Community Engagement at the University of Wyoming. And I co-facilitated the Sustained Conversations group for communication professionals and community engagement. And that was with my co-facilitator was Gretchen Minikine, Assistant Director of Communications in the Office of Outreach and Community Engagement at the University of Colorado Boulder. And I don't think she's been able to join us today. If you pop in, girl, let me know. Anyway, so I wanted to just sort of share the kind of practical news first before I talk about what we did last year, which is that the group is concluded. And we don't personally have plans to continue it this year. So neither Gretchen nor I were able to keep facilitating, and no one from last year's group was in a position to take it on. But at the end of this, I'll just share with you a little bit of information. If you are a communication professional and you do want some opportunity to connect through trucking with other folks around, shared interests and issues, there will be some opportunities for that. But just a little bit of what went on last year. Our comms group, professionals group, was pretty straightforward. We were just talking about, how to do comms within higher ed and community engagement. And so we had regular meetings. We met monthly from August through February, and then we paused for that Campus Compact conference in March. And some of the things that worked, we initiated a survey at our first meeting so that participants could share their interests, and that shaped our monthly conversation topics. And so we went with the highest priority topics, talking about building effective narratives, assessing communications work, building relationships on campus, contact management, that glamorous stuff, and then how and when to communicate across faculty, staff, students, and community members. And then I do want to share a highlight. It's in February, the Lumina Foundation's Vice President of Strategic Engagement joined us, Deborah Humphreys, joined us to share research-based approaches out of the Lumina Foundation in regards to building effective narratives about higher education. And so that was a really big treat to have a special guest. Some things that worked well was we had participation. It was small, but it was steady, and we ended up with kind of a core group of committed colleagues. And we had 3 colleagues who signed up to take notes and self-organized, and as co-facilitators, that really helped. And so we really appreciated the contributions of folks who participated and kind of helped, drive the group. And then one of the things that's challenging, and if you're a comms professional, you probably will understand this, or anyone in community engagement, right? Because we're always working from a lot of different lenses, is that even though we have these like high priority topics that the group had sort of chosen, our roles varied enormously, including like job scope, office responsibilities, institutional systems, etc. And so sometimes that was a challenge in the conversations, because we would just, need to spend time saying, well, at my institution, it's, like this, or this is this lens. And so, yeah, that was just part of the challenge. I think the challenge of doing comms. But what made it worthwhile was like that people were willing to share their situations honestly and offer, what they had. And so there were still some really great opportunities to learn from each other. And just, it came up a couple of times, whether this conversation group might turn into an action group or anything like that. But really, this just functioned as a conversation group the whole year. We didn't transform it, and that was okay. We felt like we accomplished what we set out to do, to have monthly conversations around topics of interest for comms professionals. And so just the announcement around opportunities this year, although this group won't be offered in the upcoming year, Trucking and Campus Compact more broadly are exploring other opportunities for CE comms professionals and higher ed to connect. And so Campus Compact is launching a new member hub with space to connect around shared roles and interests. And so if you're interested in finding ways to continue this type of conversation through Trucking, then reach out to Anthony. And again, I just want to thank Trucking for this opportunity. It was great to meet colleagues across the nation and have the connections in terms of learning together.
Chicory, thank you so much. Now, at this point, I'd like to welcome up Doug Barrera from the University of California, Los Angeles this year. Doug, I'll pass it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Anthony. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. So thanks, everybody. Good afternoon or good morning. Good morning here on the West Coast. I'm going to talk to you just for a few minutes about our group, which started as a sustained conversation group and then turned into a network action group. Our group was on cultivating community voice in our engagement programs. We kind of very quickly, I think within our first meeting a number of years ago, decided that we would focus on the issue of compensating our community partners. And this kind of came about as a result of realizing that as much as we wanted to integrate our community partners more into our work and incorporate their voices more into our group, that we had some work to do on our end to recognize their contributions and kind of respect their contributions in ways that weren't happening. Just amongst our group members, we all started talking about the fact that we all had issues compensating our partners in really fair and equitable ways. And so we decided to kind of focus on that. That kind of quickly turned into a survey that we ultimately administered through Campus Compact that some of you may have completed, that provided us some data that kind of confirmed what we all thought, which was that this is an issue really for most of our campuses across the country. So I'm going to talk about a toolkit that we have produced or are in the process of producing. It's almost finished. For those of you who've been members of Truckin' for a while, you've probably heard us talk about this now for a few years. but I am here to say that this toolkit is actually nearly finished. It'll be finished probably within by the end of this month, actually. The reason that toolkit is honestly almost complete is because of the great support and work that was put into this by a doctoral student, Julia Anderson at the University or at Michigan State University. So I want to shout out Julia. I'll shout out my co-facilitator, Laurel Hurt. And I know that many of my co-conspirators are here in this meeting today. So I won't name them all, but just want to acknowledge everybody. So just a couple of highlights of what will be in this toolkit. So the idea here is that, again, we are acknowledging this pain point that so many of us feel in trying to, compensate our partners for the great contributions they make to our engagement work. And so often those challenges come. So clearly there's a challenge in finding the funding to be able to compensate our partners. But oftentimes, even more than that, it's not even an issue of the funding. It's an issue of having our partners navigate our institutional systems to actually get compensated. And so a lot of us on our individual campuses have been doing work to try to break down those systems, create better systems, create shortcuts for our partners to be able to both facilitate their compensation, facilitate the processes by which they get facilitated, and especially shorten the time periods for by which they get compensated. So this toolkit is going to be addressing all of those things. The toolkit is broken into 3 parts. It is looking at, the first part looks at why we compensate our community partners, kind of provides some talking points for you to make some arguments to advocate for why this should be happening. I'm going to get into a little bit more of each of these parts in just a moment. The second is talks about creating more efficient and fair processes for that to happen. And then the third is really about leveraging resources that we might have on our campuses that look even beyond those kind of monetary resources for compensating our partners. In each part, then, we have an overview of the strategies for that pertain to each of those topics. We provide some recommendations for how practices might change on your campus. Importantly, we provide some examples of institutions that have figured out ways to do this work either right or maybe even just a little bit better. And then we provide some reflection prompts for you to be engaging in, to be thinking about as you consider engaging in this work on your own campus. Oops. Okay, so part 1, why we compensate community partners. Again, highlighting principles for compensating our partners, really grounded in the values of our field. It's kind of providing you with some talking points, some principles that you can then share with your colleagues on campus, including senior administration and your accounting, your procurement colleagues on your campuses, the folks you would need to kind of get on board with doing this. Part two, as I mentioned, provides some strategies and some processes for doing this, including, thinking about integrating compensation practices within the culture of engagement, um, ideas for streamlining university accounting and payment systems to make this happen, and building compensation into the research infrastructure of your institutions. And each of these, like I said, is providing recommendations, but also examples of institutions across the country that have tried different ways of making this happen, including providing very straightforward, step-by-step processes for partners to get listed as vendors, or how they interact with accounts payable offices. Examples like gift cards and gift card systems that can be used by your offices to compensate your community partners. Different ideas like that. The last part, as I mentioned before, is about ways that you might leverage your institutional resources, different kinds of ways that you might be able to compensate your partners that might be a little bit easier than having them go through kind of the accounts payable systems, and or we understand where funding is at for a lot of our programs these days. So when that kind of monetary, those monetary resources are not available, what are other kinds of resources that you can provide to your partners as a way to honor and appreciate the contributions that they've made? So that is just sort of a preview of what will be in this toolkit. As I mentioned before, we expect that this will be available within the month, early September, hopefully at the latest. And it'll be on the Compact website, and we're looking forward to all of you finally getting a chance to access it. So thanks.
Doug, thank you. And thank you both groups for your work this past year, for providing a space to have these important conversations, to build these important resources out with the TRUCEN network. We're going to shift here now to share some new opportunities with the new groups that will be open for members. I'd like to welcome to the stage now Jeremy Price from Indiana University, Indianapolis, to get us started. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, everyone. So I'm working with Dharma Daly, Bettina Drake, Sherry Garmize. We are pulling together a new sustained conversation around AI and community engagement. Some of you might have heard about AI, and maybe some of the impacts that it has on pretty much everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to structure this. We want it to be a participant-led conversation to sort of help things along. What we've done is we've developed a couple of questions that we can all think about together and discuss. Sort of our larger question is how can community engagement lead to sustained human thriving in the age of AI? It's very clear that we are really interested in keeping humans in the center of this conversation, and communities. We also understand that this conversation will probably look your responses will look a little bit differently depending on your institution and even who you're working with. So we have a couple of other questions that we're sort of bringing to the conversation. What can the community engaged lens, such as mutual benefit and transformation, contribute to our conversation about AI? What do trust and relationships mean between universities, community, and community organization in the age of AI? what foundational knowledge and practices should universities, communities, and community organizations develop and extend to thrive in the age of AI? What are some of the key ethical concerns, such as data sovereignty, transparency, accountability, and care, that we need to have conversations about? And then what are the opportunities and drawbacks, economic, environmental, et cetera? We're also the workforce development sustained conversation doesn't know this yet, but we're hoping to have a crossover episode so that we can bring the two groups together, because I really do think that AI and workforce, there's a lot of intersections and a lot of overlap. So it would be great to have one meeting together. So we actually have it scheduled. So we are typically going to be meeting the third Tuesday of the month at 1 p.m. Eastern, and the rest of you can do the math. However, except for in September, we're going to be meeting on Thursday, September 17th at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific. So my co-facilitators are really like I've really enjoyed talking about this and working with them to sort of bring these things together. They're really thoughtful, smart, and really interesting. And I think that anyone who joins this conversation, as you can, is really going to benefit from hearing different perspectives and approaches to AI. Probably what we're going to do is sort of start off with um, reading pieces from popular media or blog posts, Substack posts, podcasts, sort of get the conversation going so it becomes sort of more of a tech study and our responses to those questions and the topics that we bring up. And that's it. Thank you.
Jeremy, thank you so much. I'd now like to welcome up DeAndre Hogan of Michigan State University, Gavin Luter from Virginia Tech University, and Stephen Davenport from Virginia Commonwealth University to speak about their group. Gentlemen.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Anthony. And good afternoon, everyone. And firstly, just want to say it's an honor to be a part of TRUCEN and kind of be introduced to this work and kind of engage in these dialogues. So, and also thank you to my co-facilitators, Gavin Luter and Stephen Davenport. And as a new group, I just wanted to kind of highlight some initial conversations that the co-facilitators and I have been having so far, and around the topic of community engagement and workforce development. And as what you can anticipate from us in leading this sustained conversation group is really just dialoguing, right? Learning from one another and facilitating these conversations, taking notes and taking back to TRUCEN, leadership, and to what I loved seeing, from Doug, and it was really just inspiration of what these sustained conversations could be, right? So it was great learning and hearing from Doug and the work that you've been a part of. So appreciate that. And to kind of talk to what you can expect from us is really thinking about, or the title that we've come up with so far is translating community engagement experience into workforce development skills for university students and staff. And what really drew me into this topic, into this work, is conversations currently going on, even within Michigan State University, about kind of positioning ourselves as an employer of choice, and asking ourselves, what are we doing to help prepare our students as they enter into the workforce, as well as the part of that conversation, hopefully not forgetting our staff, right? Our faculty and staff, and to how community engagement experience can add and can be seen as valuable professional development for our staff and students as well. So some topics that we hope to utilize as a launch pad for the conversation. And again, like, we are eager to engage in these discussions and to see where they go, see where the topic go, where the direction shifts. And so some topics that, again, that will hope be a launch for us is community engagement and development opportunities for current staff. What does that look like? Next, how are academic institutions providing valuable community-based experience and how they translate into workforce development skills? And lastly, how does community engagement for workforce development make it into the curriculum? So how can we make it something that is sustainable, not a set aside or a nice add-on, but how can it be ingrained into and where can it be ingrained into curriculum, and how we can maintain certain practices. So looking forward to facilitating and engaging in this dialogue, and also just want to leave space for my co-facilitators to add anything that I may have missed out or anything they want to highlight and lift up as well.
Thanks, DeAndre. Hey, everyone. I'm Gavin. I'm based at Virginia Tech in the Washington, D.C. area. And something that really, so now I'm working for an academic unit, and I've been really interested to see how like kind of cutting edge workforce skills are making it into the curriculum. So if you do have people on your campus who are maybe with academic departments who are thinking about how to incorporate these things into course curriculum or community-based experiences, but also maybe even for career service professionals. We've had some partnerships with career services people who actually come in and help our students understand how to translate their community engagement experiences into their job search or their resume or those kinds of things. So just different kinds of populations that might be interested in doing this. And yeah, maybe I will hand it off to Stephen to just introduce himself and add anything if you'd like.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm Stephen Davenport with Virginia Commonwealth University. I too am excited to have this opportunity to help facilitate these conversations. Like my colleagues have said, we're really interested in having these conversations, seeing what other people are doing. I think as institutions, particularly for folks involved in trucking, it's also important that we consider ways that we can leverage our institutional resources to help community members and what that means for workforce development. So I'm excited about those conversations, and I hope you all join us. And I'd be remiss not to plug coming to VCU to see our showcase. So, if I'm on here twice representing VCU, I'll say that again. So we want to see you on campus, and we look forward to having these conversations.
I will say, Jeremy, you totally got us with you already have a time and a date. We're going with the true co-creation process. So people who want to join our group, we will hopefully set a time that works for most people. No, I'm just giving you a hard time, Jeremy. Y'all are on top of it. So thank you.
Thanks.
Well, thank you all. And we'll move on to the next group. And I did really quickly want to mention, for the interest of time, we're doing a time check. So let's try to keep it to 3 minutes per group if we can, just to get through the rest of our groups today. And I'm going to pass it over to Gina Lee Olokoya from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign and E. Shane Lee from Indiana University, Indianapolis, to share about their group. Thank you both.
Hello, fantastic. So yes, I'm Gina Lee Olokoya from the University of Illinois, and alongside is our other facilitator, E. Shane Lee from Indiana University, Indianapolis. That's new, that it's just the Indianapolis, not IUPUI any longer. So that's pretty exciting. And we are going to be co-facilitating the sustained conversation around student civic learning and democratic participation this particular year. This conversation really is designed to be more than a single moment in time, because it's a lot to unpack with this discussion as we get through the year. We're hoping to learn from one another, share some ideas, and hopefully be able to assist each other in preparing our students for what is to come and for them to be engaged, and recognizing our role in this climate during this time, during this effort to be more collaborative, to support our students as they grow in this particular area.
Yeah, thank you, Gina. So glad to be here. Yeah, a couple of topics that we want to discuss throughout this year is we want to focus on a couple of interconnected themes of civic learning, voter engagement, the democratic dialogue, student participation. Also, one of the biggest things for us as being an urban university, and many other universities may suffer or may be facing those same consequences, is how do we navigate throughout this time within civic engagement within our universities. So more importantly, this conversation is going to be built around all of those who participate, uh, and we invite those participations to bring real examples from your campus, both successes and also challenges, because together we want to examine what's working and, discuss how institutions are responding to evolving political and institutional contexts. And one of the things we want to do is identify practices that others can adapt within their own settings. So we hope that this become a collaborative learning community, where everyone can contribute their thoughts and everyone leave with new ideas.
And so to get us through, we just want to preview just a little bit about the themes that we're going to cover this year. So we'll talk a little bit about civic learning, voter engagement, democratic dialogue, and student participation. And again, as Shane spoke about, this is very collaborative. We're going to build the conversation around what we're seeing and experiencing, and the things that we might want to continue to grow and develop. So we're hoping to develop and to engage in some real examples of what's happening, and help us to find pathways not only for the work that we're doing, but to support our student experiences both in the classroom and out.
Yes, so as your co-facilitators, Gina and I, we bring different professional experiences, but we share definitely one common commitment, and that is helping colleges and universities cultivate students who are informed, engaged ethically, and prepared to participate in any democratic processes. So we hope this sustained conversation, becomes a space where you can feel comfortable in asking questions, sharing innovative practices, learning from colleagues across the country, and building relationships that can extend beyond this year. So we thank you for investing in this important work, and we look forward to learning alongside each one of you all during this year. So Gina and I would like to welcome you to the Civic Learning and Democratic Participation Sustain group. Thank you.
James and Gina, thank you so much.
And we would like to just quickly say that we want you to register, of course, but we have been able to anticipate, because hopefully there'll be a lot of folks joining us, but we're looking at trying to meet on the third Tuesdays of every month. So keep that in mind, but we wanted to kind of get that into your thought process as you join our group. Thank you.
Gina and Shane, thank you so much. Bobby is pinning. Thank you, Bob. All right, wonderful. So now next, I want to get us into our network action groups. We have a few spotlights here. Inspired by the Sustainable Conversation Group model, these peer-led collaborations of faculty, staff, and administrators typically convene for 1 to 2 years and focus on producing tangible outcomes, such as shared resources, publications, actionable recommendations, etc. We have 5 network action groups running this year. With one of those groups, they'll share this on their own, who are not accepting new members, but the other 4 are. And I'd like to pass it on to Megan Moran from Worcester State University to get us started. Megan.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Megan Moran. I'm the director of the Benenda Center for Civic Engagement at Worcester State, and I'm kind of the black sheep on this call. Technically, I'm no longer with TRUCEN, but I am such a proud member of Campus Compact, and for several years, I worked at Brandeis University which is a part of the TRUCEN network. And that's where I began my work with my co-facilitator, Megan Lovely at the University of Rochester. And we had a really wonderful experience last year co-facilitating a sustained conversation group focused on majors, minors, and certificate programs in civic and community engagement. And we loved working together so much. We developed a database that showcased a lot of the different programs in our field that are circulating now. We were very interested in all the different aspects of these programs, where are they hosted, how are they funded, what are the parameters for these programs, the requirements. And what we found is that this is certainly a topic that is trending, and many of us in our own home institutions are thinking about these questions now. Is it something where we want to start a new minor in civic engagement, or perhaps think about a micro credential or a certificate? So we decided that for this year, we're shifting our gears slightly from a sustained conversation group model to a network action group mode. And we would like to publish based on a lot of the research and data that we compiled this past year. And so we plan to meet the first Friday of every month from 12 to 1 p.m. and really dig deep into the research that we found and look particularly at trends so that we can help one another in this field think through what might be practical and meaningful ways to pursue changes to our current programs, addendums, new programs all together. And that's where I've kind of stayed on as a member of a Massachusetts state school and within public higher ed. We're also thinking about these same questions as R1 institutions. And so we're hoping that our final academic publication, where we started out looking at just R1 institutions in the TRUCEN network and what programs that we all have. We'd like to kind of broaden it out a little bit to share what trends we're seeing on a bigger scale and how we can use that information to really strengthen our decision making and strategic planning around majors, minors, and certificate programs in our field. So I look forward to hopefully welcoming some new members to our group. And thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Megan, thank you so much. I'm going to pass it now to Davev Levine from the University of New Hampshire to share about his group. Davev.
Great. Thanks, Anthony. So my name is Dovev. I work at the University of New Hampshire. I've got a couple titles here. I'm the Assistant Dean for Graduate Student Affairs. So I work with all of the PhD and master's students across UNH. And then I'm also the AVP for Outreach Engagement, which puts me into working with those grad students on connecting them to community partners to really get their research and scholarship to meet those community needs, which I've just found so compelling. And that's helped to connect me to our what was a sustained conversation group. We're now shifting to a network action group focused on grad student community engaged scholarship. And so for those of you in that space, there's so much work being done across the nation. But what we found is that there's really a lot of still opaqueness, and I think a really big need for awareness and clarity of what the processes are, innovative ideas. There's a lot of recreating wheels, I think, that are happening, and just a lot of kind of like headroom to really start to evolve this particular prong and really help to provide some better standards and benchmarking. So we spent the last year meeting monthly with, I'm, by the way, not the lead, I'm a co-lead. Mindy Levin from Johns Hopkins is really our lead. And I helped to co-facilitate with Kat Lettieri from UC San Diego, but you get me today because they're not available. So again, we spent the last year meeting monthly, starting to figure out and sharing best practices, what we all do. That led first to kind of a very kind of drafty spreadsheet that we put together just for our own membership of kind of like, what do we do? Well, we really tried to be solutions focused, and just seeing all the different things that popped out, a lot of which I found invigorating and fascinating. I started to borrow some ideas. We thought it would be really interesting to actually extend that kind of benchmarking and inventorying out to the entire campus compact population. So we're putting together a draft survey, which is being refined as we speak. That is going to be designed to go out to all campus compact members sometime this fall. We're going to use that to essentially really try to create a better benchmarking system so that folks know what's going on, and also to create lots of connection and replication and learning from each other in this grad engagement space. And so then the idea there is to set it up in a way that we can very easily disseminate that information to really make it visible for folks to learn from each other and do more kind of in concert together in more alignment, and also really create better processes. Example that I run into, I've got a couple of my own PhD students that I'm helping to chair their dissertation. And off the bat, we've already started to run into some, not challenges, but kind of like, are we allowed to do this? Can we count a chapter that's, maybe not the typical kind of peer-reviewed journal chapter type chapter, because it doesn't necessarily meet what the community partner needs that they are assessing. So really trying to figure out what's kind of the state of the art in terms of what's possible. And then how do we make that more of a national conversation to get those things to be available for students and also to be acceptable to faculty and to graduate programs as well. So we're excited about the work. We see this as really starting to shift the conversation nationally, and we would love to have anyone's interested in graduate scholarship join us. I think we're meeting first Thursday of every month at 2 p.m. Eastern, and we're a pretty cool crew. So please join us. Thanks.
Thank you. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Renee Miller-Zantek from Michigan State University. Renee, take it away.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to see familiar faces. As was said, I'm losing my notes here. One second. As was shared, I'm Renee Miller-Zantek. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Community Engaged Learning at Michigan State University. And I'm presenting today on our network action group on behalf of myself and Marisa Hightower, who is our co-facilitator and is the Associate Director of the Office of Civic and Community Engagement at the University of Miami. So our 8-member team is the Metrics of Accountability Network Action Group. And Marisa and I have served as the facilitators of this group for the last 2 years. I will mention that there are several folks on the call today that are in our group. So Margaret Barrett, Jim Frabutt, Jeremy Price, Chicory Betchel, are all here, so that's nice to see as well. Our work really started as a sustained conversation group. We're going into our 3rd year. Last year, we moved to a network action group. And our work really asks the question, how do institutions really know how their community partners experience their relationships with us as higher education institutions? So we've been examining how institutions understand community partners' perceptions of community engaged teaching, learning, and research, and then how we can use that knowledge to strengthen institutional credibility, better align practices with community expectations, and build more equitable and collaborative relationships that really truly center community voice. So as I mentioned, we started as a sustained action, our sustained conversation group. In our 1st year, we grounded our conversations in Devarian Baldwin's text, In the Shadow of the Ivory Tower. We explored the case studies in this book alongside our own institutional experiences, along with community benefit agreements and MOUs, and began questioning how universities understand and account for their impact on communities. So in our 2nd year, we moved to a broader conversation, from that broader conversation to a specific question. What do we actually know about community partner perceptions and how institutions are measuring them? And we began reviewing the literature and gathering quantitative assessment tools from our own institutions and across our networks, including TRUCEN. And from that work, we've started developing a database of existing measures and an integrated framework for thinking about how community perception data can inform institutional decision making. So we've had the opportunity to share and refine our work through presentations at the Campus Compact conferences for the last 2 years. And as we move into this 3rd year, we've formed really a smaller research and writing group of 8 colleagues that are working on a title potentially centering community partner perceptions and community university engagement, a review of current practices and emerging frameworks. So over the coming year, we are going to focus on 3 interconnected ideas: refining our database of assessment tools, exploring relational strategies for building and assessing university community partnerships, and developing an emerging framework that can help institutions more intentionally center community partner perceptions in their work. So as we bring these strands together, we are working, as I said, as a smaller group. So we're the group that was mentioned that is not necessarily accepting new members, but I mentioned there's several people on the call, and also Marisa and I are open to meeting and chatting with folks at any time. We'd love to hear more about your work in this space and are happy to connect at any time. I think we're coming into that final stage of wrapping up research and working on the production of a paper. So we're hoping that you'll hear more from us at the Campus Compact Conference in June in California. So that's us.
Thank you, Renee. Next, I'd like to welcome up Elaine Kathleen Donnelly from Tufts University to share out. Elaine.
Hi, thank you. And thank you, Anthony and Bobby, for making these conversations possible. I deeply appreciate that. I'm Elaine Donnelly. I'm the director of the Tisch Community Research Center and a research professor at Tufts University in Massachusetts. And I'm here to talk about the Equity and Community Engaged Research Action Network Group, which I co-facilitate with Chris Ciarcia, who is the Assistant Director of the Office of Outreach and Engagement at the University of Connecticut. And this is a working group that's trying to develop resources for strengthening how universities advance and deepen community engaged research and research partnerships. It was originally a sustained conversation, and it evolved because of the people in the working group were really interested in actually curating and developing resources to gaps that we are experiencing. And so just for an example, I mean, these are around, both approaches and resources to make work more collaborative, more, reciprocal, and ultimately more equitable, putting equity at the center. A few years ago, the group was working on developing a toolkit, the Anti-Racist and Decolonial Toolkit, that looks at racism and how it cuts across higher ed and how that impacts research. And last December, Campus Compact published that online. In the past about year and a half to 2 years, the group been working on a series of teaching cases with participatory research methodologies for some of the more salient recurring challenges that come up related to equity. Those have been presented and they're still being piloted and refined, and a manuscript just was submitted last month to the Transformative Social Impact Journal. And those will continue to be worked on because it's a continual work in progress throughout the year. But for the year ahead, what will happen really depends on who is participating. It's pretty open. Our first meeting is September 8th at 2 p.m. Then after that, every monthly will depend on when people are available. And ultimately, it's pretty wide open. I anticipate that the first couple of meetings will focus on building kind of relationships with new colleagues as we work on this, thinking about what do we actually mean by equity and community engaged research, and then charting the course for the year ahead. And I can also put Chris's and my email in the chat as well if you want to talk about any of this. Thanks.
Elaine, thank you so much. Finally, we welcome up Halima Therese Bagidi from the University of Rochester to share. Halima.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here with you all today. As Anthony mentioned, I am Halima Therese Bagidi, and I serve as the Associate Director for Community Engagement at the University of Rochester. First, I want to preface that the need to create our network action group, which is to document the existing higher ed landscape, emerged at the 2025 TRUCEN gathering in Atlanta, knowing the challenges and successes that institutions have been navigating lately. So fast forward, the group started meeting in the fall of 2025 for that purpose. And for context, the first plan was for our group to kind of start putting together a story mapping. However, when we start meeting, the group consensus was the best is to come up with a survey, which, survey, obviously, to talk about documenting everything I mentioned earlier. So the purpose of the survey was for institution leaders, staff who also have their boot on the ground, to kind of share their perspective about their respective institution. And my first co-facilitator was Christopher George from the University of Minnesota, who unfortunately had to step down because of other work priority. And I just wanted to give him a shout out for all the groundwork support that he provided. So when Christopher had to step down, Sarah Blender from the University of UCLA, who was also part of the group, graciously volunteered to co-facilitate the group with me. So Sarah is not able to join me here today, but I also want to give her a big shout out for being amazing. So throughout our work, Sarah have also become a great friend, and when my family and I visited for California, we were able to meet in person. So that was a big highlight for me. So Sarah and I put together the survey, which we share with our group member, including the tracking team for input. And we decided to go for a second year. So this year, our network action group will continue, and we invite people to sign up to continue the work of documenting existing higher ed landscape. And once our survey is released, which will be very soon, our group will focus on kind of increasing participation in the survey, monitoring responses rates, and engaging targeted stakeholder groups as needed. And our group will also be responsible for translating survey results into recommendations. Some of the key issues of the survey include and addresses partnership development, evaluation, and factors that influence community engagement on campus. So once data collection concludes, the group will analyze data and translate them into findings. Clear recommendation will also be provided, and policy development, maybe future initiative, and hopefully publishing a paper. So Sarah and I are looking forward to continue this work, and we're also welcoming new members. So the plan is to meet once a month, and we're anticipating to launch the group in late September. So yeah, that's all I have. Thank you all.
Halima, thank you so much. Wonderful. Well, I'd like to get us into the home stretch here. We're going to be talking about webinars, lightning sessions, and our annual in-person gathering. And so very briefly, our webinars provide a space for TRUCEN members to come together virtually to dive into contemporary topics, hear from experts, engage in dialogue, and network with fellow faculty, staff, and senior leaders from the R1 institutions across the country. This fall, we'll be offering our first webinar in October. And to share, I want to welcome up Sandra Serrata from the University of Connecticut to share out. Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here and to hear about all this wonderful work. And I'm seeing a lot of overlap with the initiative I'm going to share about at the webinar. So I hope you can all join. So I'm Sandra Sirota. I am the director of a program called Human Rights Close to Home at the University of Connecticut. And I'm also faculty with the Human Rights Institute there. I'm going to be sharing our program with two current participants in our program, a teacher from a local high school, Tatiana Gomez, and a high school student, rising senior, Anya Shah. And they're both participating in Human Rights Close to Home right now, and they'll be coming to share a bit about their experience. So just to tell you a little bit about the program, our goal is to develop and implement human rights and civic education with teachers and students to strengthen democracy in Connecticut communities and beyond. So we work with the teachers. Teachers and students are known as fellows. We have 12 teacher fellows and 12 high school student fellows. The teachers are K through 12 across all subject areas, and they come together with the high school students and learn together, which is a really impactful part of the program. They learn together for a week in an intense week of learning about human rights, how to take action, strengthening democracy, civic engagement. And then after that week's over, the teachers go back into their classrooms and they implement human rights in their curriculum, whether that's kindergarten class or a 12th grade math class, social studies, you name it. They implement it. We support them for a year in implementing that, and they create lessons to share out with the broader community. And then the students work on civic engagement projects, and then they are supported by UConn student mentors, and they work throughout the year with the mentors and then implement their projects. And then we have a big celebration at the end of the year. And just to give you a taste of some of the impact, teachers have brought human rights not only to their classrooms, but a whole department and sometimes even their entire grade. And the students have done projects like one of the students did a Black History website to share important points in Black history in his community and present it at the local Juneteenth event. We've had students go to advocate to their legislators for immigrant rights. We had one student get composting implemented in her entire high school. So lots of different projects, lots of different causes that the students care about. And so we will share about our approach, which is an activist pedagogical approach, which is a goal of transformative agency for the students. And we've done research along with this, and we have a lot of great results, really promising, that we'll also share with you. So we'll share the model, we'll share the research, we'll also give you some stories about the project and the students and teachers who have gone through it, and talk about our curriculum and implementation. So we hope you join us, and we welcome any ideas, critiques, questions, and look forward to seeing you. So thanks.
Thank you, Sandra. Dovev, I'm not sure if you're still here. I know he had to hop off. And so we wanted to highlight Dovev's November Lightning session. If you're here, Dovev, that's great. If not, I can share a little bit about what we were planning. And so very briefly about that. In November, so earlier this year in our Truckin' listserv, there were some great questions and sharing out around post-baccalaureate funded opportunities that sparked a really active conversation in the chat. And so we reached out to Dovev to see if he'd be willing and interested in leading a conversation, a lightning session that lifted up some of those examples. And so in November, and I'm sorry, I don't have the date right in front of me. Oh, sorry, Tuesday, November 17th from 12 to 1:30 p.m. We are looking to host Building Post-Baccalaureate Student Fellowship Opportunities and Partnerships, a lightning session that will explore how colleges and universities are supporting students' transitions into post-baccalaureate fellowships, public service, and community-engaged careers. Participants will examine promising institutional models, strategies, and increasing visibility for campus buy-in to this kind of work. And the opportunities for collaboration across institutions to strengthen public service pathways for all students. So I'm really excited about this lightning session, and we have registration forthcoming. It will be hopefully live in the next week or so. So look out for that in the Truckin' listserv. So without further ado, I finally want to close with, oh, I'm sorry, really quickly. If you're interested in hosting a webinar lightning session this year, please contact me. I'd be happy to work with you all and help develop those. But finally, I want to close us out by highlighting our annual in-person meeting, which will take place this year at UCLA. Every year, Truckin' hosts a two-day meeting directly prior to the annual Campus Compact Conference, which is hosted by a local Truckin' member. This year, it's UCLA. The meeting provides an opportunity for students to share knowledge and strategies, co-develop an agenda for the network, brainstorm creative approaches to common challenges and opportunities, and engage in experiences that build resilience and mutual support. I'd like to welcome back up to the stage Doug Barrera from UCLA to share a little bit about the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. Everybody, again, I'll make this real quick. I know we're wrapping up. So, yeah, we're excited to welcome everybody to LA next June and to welcome you to UCLA. We've been talking about some potential topic areas for sessions and themes for the Truckin' meeting. Things we've been talking about, and you'll see that some of these resonate with some of the topics that have already been discussed here today. Things around democracy and civic participation, specifically how are our research universities contributing to the cultivation of civic skills and civic activity, both on campus, but specifically relating to our work, the community engagement work. How are we contributing to that work in our communities? How are we supporting our community partners in cultivating civic participation and kind of civic empowerment? So that's a thought. In addition, and kind of in a similar vein, we've talked about looking at ways in which undergraduate research, undergraduate community engaged research might be contributing to those kinds of outcomes as well. Another idea that we kind of threw out was, kind of talking about how do we sustain community engaged research, particularly in this era where funding is becoming harder and harder to come by. And so that could be a potential topic of conversation. Last thing I'll say is, we've also talked about, potentially focusing on certain social issue areas and those that might be, specific or those that not are specific, but those that are particularly important in the LA context that folks might be interested in engaging with. So things like immigration, housing, land development, and of course, as many of you know, we're going to be hosting the Olympics in 2028. And so there, certainly a lot of issues around that and what it means for our communities, particularly as it relates to folks experiencing homelessness. So we might engage in some of those kinds of things. But I would just say if anybody has other kind of topical issues that they would like to address, please share those with us. And lastly, if there's anything else that you would like to get out of the TRUCEN meeting, specifically in LA, in that experience, please, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to know about it. So excited to welcome you here to LA in June, and we'll see hopefully most of you come next June. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Doug. Thank you to every speaker and contributor. I hope that you're feeling the way that I am, that this is an incredibly robust agenda with really, most importantly, an incredible set of leaders really driving it from across the network. I put it up early in the chat, but I just want to also reinforce we have a wonderful leadership committee that really works hard to kind of elevate and say, these are the issues we're hearing about. Many of them are here. And I also want to call it, while our group this year, I listed out earlier, I also see Laurel Hurt is still on the screen, who has been such a longtime contributor and leadership committee member over the past several years. So excited. We do have a couple minutes if there's like a burning question or a burning comment that you're thinking of as we wrap. But in terms of follow-up, if you're wondering what's next, we're going to get all of this in front of you. So both individual opportunities, but also the big kind of programming overview. I do want to say that the kind of most important thing to get registered for right now are two things. That is the Sustained Conversation Group and Network Action Groups, and the Duke Showcase visit. So there is a deadline. If you're planning to go to Duke, it's going to be phenomenal. As you heard, that one is coming up very quick, October 1st and 2nd. If you're a parent like me, that feels like tomorrow. And so I think the hotel block, it might be at the end of this month. So we're going to be pushing that out to you like tomorrow. So if you're organizing a team, there was a lot of interest in that right away. Please go ahead and get registered for that one immediately. Also, the Sustained Conversation Network Action Groups, we want to go ahead. Many of the groups want to get started or they're already meeting. The other thing I just want to say is many of you are here and you represent your organizations on TRUCEN. TRUCEN is a campus-wide benefit, particularly for all of these opportunities, particularly the network action groups and sustained conversation groups. When the leadership committee created these, it was with the understanding that our annual meeting only has 2 spots per institution, kind of able to be supported. So these are opportunities to really go inside your campus when, we're doing one on workforce development, to really think about who's thinking about that work most predominantly on your campus, or any of the other topics. So even though you're the rep, please also take the time to really put these in front of your colleagues and think about how to get more and more people from across your campus involved. So are there any kind of burning questions or comments before we wrap? Great comment by Gavin. Always on it of an idea. Okay. I know we just threw a ton at you guys, and most of you stuck with us for the long haul. So thank you very much. We'll get you the recording. Thank you to Anthony, who I know you all can clearly see did the lion's share of the work here of getting everyone here and supporting this important event. So thanks all. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Anthony. Great stuff.